Hey guys, Braden from Adrenalin Rush Sports Australia. Today on the Adrenalin Rush Kite Fit program, we're really going to talk about the push press. Now, if you've seen our strict press video, this is going to make it a little bit more relevance to you in the push press. But at the same time, you can still learn the push press from here. Now, the reason why we would want to do a push press, especially for kiteboarders, is we need to build up that shoulder health and that shoulder strength. We do a lot of pulling, so imagine we go for a big railie or an S-bend and we're at full extension, we're always pulling that bar back towards us, or even when we're riding here normally. Having that ability to pull back puts a lot of strain on our shoulders, so we really need to build that muscle balance and with the strength of pushing away as well. And it's just trying to be as balanced as we can in our body. Okay, so the push press is a pretty similar setup to the strict press, but we're getting into a more front rack position, which can be a little bit harder for some guys and girls that have tight shoulders, but we'll cover that anyway. With the push press, the setup for the hands is exactly the same. So we want to be thumb width from the edge of the knurling, or wherever your hands would be. But basically, a little tip as well that I didn't mention in the strict press video is if your fingers are touching your shoulders, your hands are too close. Okay, so really want our hands to be just outside our shoulders, externally rotated, and our elbows up nice and high. So what I'll do, I'll quickly talk about it and then I'll demonstrate it and then we'll just cover some quick tips. So for the push press, basically we want to come into a front rack position, but we don't need to be at full 90 degrees or parallel to the ground. We want to be somewhere around 45, but we need to have a nice solid front rack position. So when we do dip to go to the push press, we don't have the bar slip off our front rack. Big thing with the front rack as well, and the push press and the push jerk, really need to tuck our chin back just a little bit. We don't want to do anything excessive, but we need to get this out of the road so we don't hit our chin or hit our nose on the way up. I'm sure you'll probably do it. I've done it a heap of times. You think you'd learn from the first time, but you just don't. The receiving position or your finishing position for the push press is the same as the strict press, so the bar is in line over our ears and we're at full extension, okay? Now the thing that I like to think about that can get a bit confusing when you talk about the strict press, the push press and the push jerk is what happens when you do go for the dip. So strict press you don't dip at all, push press you dip and then keep your legs locked, and then push jerk you dip and then you come back down and catch it into a receiving position, okay? So the push press, I'll quickly demonstrate. I'll demonstrate the front rack and then I'll show you the whole thing, okay? So coming into a push press starting position, I like to have my thumbs at the start of the knurling. Coming into a front rack position, stand it up. Now, I want that bar to be as deep as we can against our neck, and if you can have it up against our shoulders, that's even better. Having a nice solid front rack position is going to be a lot easier for us to get into the push press. Now from here, you want to have your feet about hip to shoulder width apart, so when you do dip, we're in a nice athletic stance. I'll just rack this bar again. So that's the front rack position. So I'll quickly demonstrate a push press for the whole lift. So setting my hands, coming under to a front rack position, unracking it. So the push press is a little dip, we come up, press the bar out overhead. Now the big thing we want to try not to do, and it is human nature to do it, just poke our head back and forth, okay? Really trying to keep a neutral spine the entire time is what we're trying to achieve on pretty much every movement. So you can see there's a little dip coming up, pressing the bar out overhead, locking those elbows out and coming back down. Now, sometimes you can get mixed up from the strict press, push press and the push jerk. If you haven't seen the strict press, very similar to starting position, but you just don't dip. We'll go into the push jerk in the future so we can explain that a bit more as well. That's the push press. Give it a try. If you have any dramas with it, send me an email, fitness@adrenalinrush.net.au, and I'll try and help you out as much as I can. Have it a go. It's a great lift, and it's going to help you improve your shoulder health and then help improve your ability on the water. Braden from Adrenalin Rush Sports Australia. This is the Adrenalin Rush Kite Fit program. Hope you learned something today. Cheers, guys.
Check out adrenalinrush.net.au for all the links.